I got a comment from a black female goth, which was a mix of goth elitism and angry black woman ranting. And this comment was kind of disturbing to me because I was reading this comment and I I just really was floored by the amount of vitriol that was thrown at me because this female did not agree with many of the videos I made, such as why Negro men can't love Negro women. And I listened to this rant, and again, it was just downright disturbing to me. Now, I'm going to dissect the commentary in two parts. The first part, I'm going to deal with this whole goth elitism that this female, tried to address me with. Now, this female was saying that I really wasn't concerned that much about the black gothic community, and I wasn't subscribed to all these channels on YouTube. Now, I have been aware of the goth subculture for many years. Again, I grew up during the 80s, which was like the golden age of horror movies. And during this time, they were pretty much making horror movies every week. And I pretty much saw movies like your Beetlejuice and your Batman and many of Tim Burton's other films in the theater or on VHS. So I have a good understanding of what a lot of the material that a lot of goths have watched because I watched it myself. I mean, I've watched things like your Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, and many of these horror films. I've watched TV shows like your Tales from the Dark Side first run when I was a tween or preteen back in the 1980s. So I know what a lot of that is. And I also know about quite a bit of the music because they used to play it on a channel here in New York called U68. They used to play a lot of post-punk and many other types of music in addition to your hip-hop, your rock, and your rap, and your R&B. So I have a good foundation of it. And then in the 90s, I watched a lot of goths on shows like your Jenny Jones. And I also, as a writer, have used that background to create multiple characters with the goth aesthetic. So I have a solid background in it. And when I was writing the novel The Spinsterella and the prequel to it, Spellbound, I came on the YouTube to get a refresher course by doing research because I knew that the goth material that I saw in the 80s and the 90s would not relate to today. So I did over a year and a half of research starting in about 2014 or so, and I watched different people's channels, and I went looking again for black goths then, and only a handful of channels popped up. People like your Vision in Pitch or your Mysterio Fabrizio, and there wasn't that many that were black that were coming up when I first came here. The ones that came up that had the information I was looking for were mostly, again, white channels like Toxic Tears, It's Black Friday, Lygia Resurrected. They were the ones that had the information that helped me, get that refresher course on the goth subculture. But I've been trying to create a black goth character since the 1990s. And again, just because I'm not subscribed to these people's channels does not mean I don't have a background in the subculture. I don't understand the subculture. It means that a lot of times I just don't know your channel. Again, if it doesn't come up in the search box, I can't find it. So if your channel is not there, and she was sitting there saying you're not subscribed to all these people, well, these people, they don't come up in the search. Also, a lot of people start channels, but they don't update regularly. And in order for people to find you, you have to keep updating regularly. But my background, pretty much, I have a good understanding of the subculture. I've done it before I started doing my research again to refresh things when I was writing the Spinsterella book and I was writing Spellbound. And I have a good understanding of the subculture. And one of the things that I know about the subculture is that people are very open and people are very friendly. And another thing that I know about it is that in being open and friendly, people in the goth subculture know how to agree to disagree. If they hear an opinion that they do not like, they understand that they can agree to disagree. They'll say that that's that person's opinion, and they will accept that person's opinion as their opinion. They do not try to make an argument with that person. They do not go back and forth with that person. And they don't write long, ranting diatribes filled with ad hominem attacks because someone presented an opinion that they disagree with. No, the only people who do that are African Americans. And I'm not going by saying just African American women, because I've run into African American men in my childhood who do the exact same thing. Whenever you present them with an opinion they disagree with, they get upset and butthurt, and then they want to make a long ranting diatribe to try to shame you. And this is what this female tried to do when she watched a couple of my videos that she disagreed with. That's not a part of the goth subculture. Every goth I have interacted with online and watched their videos has said what I have said. They agree to disagree. When they hear an opinion they do not like or they disagree with, they pretty much, say that that's his opinion or that's her opinion, and they move on because there are different goths who are different religions. There are different goths who believe in different ideas. Many goths are agnostic, and some goths are Christian, and they agree to disagree. That is a foundation of the subculture. There is no I'm going to try to get angry with you and attack you because you present points I disagree with. What I present in my videos regarding the black community, again, is part of my foundation of my mission as a publisher, as a blogger, and a writer. In that mission, I said I wanted to present a positive image of African Americans and the African American experience, and I wanted to present a commentary on the black community. Now, those videos I do about black women's low self-esteem, that fits within the criteria for my mission because I want to see relations improve in the black community and I want to see things get better. And part of seeing things improve in the black community is acknowledging the problem. And the sad part is with many African American women, they don't want to acknowledge the problems going on and their part in those problems. And part of the problems that I saw that I made in my video, Why Negro Men Can't Love Negro Women, is the fact that many of these Negro women have low self-esteem. They do not like themselves. They do not like anything about themselves. And because they do not like themselves, this is manifested outwardly in the way they dress, the way they act, the way they behave, and the partner they pick in their relationships. And this goes back to a point that this female got upset at me about, how saying that I was always talking about thugs and thug culture. The videos that I made talking about thugs and thug culture were to show people how phony and fake thug culture is. Because there is no such thing as a thug. A thug is a concept created by white males from Madison Avenue advertisers and Hollywood movie studios. He's a fake image, which is basically a repackaging of the black brute from Jim Crow and the coon. And that's all a thug is. And when black males follow this caricature, they pretty much set themselves up for failure. And that's why I try to teach black men that this image is a fraud. Because this is not what black manhood is about. That is what a white liberal tells you black manhood is about. That is a false image of black masculinity, and black manhood is basically an idea that white liberals have regarding black men, and it's repackaged in a way that makes them feel comfortable about black men and sells them products such as your Air Jordan tennis shoes, your sagging pants, and the bling bling chains. That's all a thug is. And she got upset with me because I made videos regarding this. Now, again, I made those videos to help black men, and those videos have an impact on black men. A lot of black men watch those videos, a lot of black boys watch those videos, and they're learning that a thug is not a man. They're learning that a thug is a concept. It's a social construct. And those videos were meant to help black men, just like the video I did, again, talking about these black women and their low self-esteem and why black men just can't love them, because again, you can't love someone who does not love themselves. And when I look at goth women, they love themselves. They like who they are. They're willing to do the work. And that's one of the things I loved about the whole goth subculture is that many of these goth people, like me, struggle with things like social anxiety and depression. And they're willing to say, look, I have this problem, but I'm not going to let it get me down. I'm not going to let it hold me back. I'm going to persevere and go on. And that's one of the things I like about people like your Black Friday and your Goblin Queen is how positive they are. They have a positive attitude in spite of their problems, and they will persevere in spite of their problems and go on to do what they want to do. When I look at the black community, that's something that we could take from the Gothic subculture and, apply because they, when I look at the Goth women's videos, they have self-confidence, they have self-esteem, they go for what they want, and that's something we could take. Again, that positive energy to acknowledge a problem because part of moving your life ahead is acknowledging you have a problem. That's something that I try to get people to understand regarding, black women. This is not black women bashing when I make these videos that are critical of black women. This is constructive criticism meant to help African American women. Now, I've been doing this for several years on my own blog, www.shawnsjames.blogspot.com, or also known as Shawn James Black Freelance Writer. And I get the same type of attacks from black women regarding the commentary I make. But this commentary, again, is meant to be positive. It is meant to help you understand where you were going wrong. Because, again, part of working towards a solution is acknowledging the problem. You have to admit you have a problem in order to move ahead. If you're sitting here trying to deny the problem, you're not going to move ahead. Your life is going to stall, and you're not going to be able to move yourself forward. You're just going to sit here and stay in the same spot. And when it comes down to the Gothic subculture, I see people moving ahead because, again, they acknowledge the problems they have in their life, and they persevere in spite of the problems. And that's why they are able to accomplish what they're able to accomplish. Meanwhile, when I look at this black community, I don't see anybody accomplishing anything. And the main reason why they don't accomplish anything is because many black people are afraid to acknowledge the problem. They're afraid to talk about the problems going on. And they're afraid towards working towards the solutions. They would rather sit here and go into victim mode and remain in a state of codependency where they play this back and forth game of playing the victim and the abuser, rather than say, look, I have a problem, I need to go work this out. That goth person will be able to say that. They can say that clearly. They can say, look, okay, I have a mental health issue. And they're not ashamed to say it. They're not ashamed to say that they have anxiety. They're not ashamed to say they have depression. They're not ashamed to say that they're an introvert. They're willing to be open about it because they understand if I'm open about acknowledging the problem, I can go get help towards working towards the solution. And when I work towards a solution, I can start taking those steps to move my life ahead. Now, in the black community, when you make those statements like that, those black people get upset. When you make statements like that in the black community, that's when black women start getting super defensive because the onus there is on them to start taking responsibility for their life. And that's what makes them uncomfortable. And that's what I believe made this female uncomfortable because I was making statements that were pretty much probably making a statement about her that she didn't want to hear because a lot of black women want to hear certain things regarding, themselves. When a black man is saying something, they want to hear stuff like your Steve Harvey or your Tyler Perry says, oh, you just need a good man. Well, a good man is going to tell you what you need to know. And that's what I tell you. That's what I say in my blogs. That's what I say in my books. And a good man is going to, he's going to be critical of you, and he's going to be constructively critical of you. It may hurt your feelings to hear these things, but you're going to grow because of them. And you're going to become a better person because of them, because this person loved you enough to sit here and talk to you face to face and tell you what you need to know. That's something that sadly a lot of black women never got because a lot of black women never had fathers in their lives. They never had a man who had enough integrity and character to sit down and tell them face to face, this is a bad road for you. this is a bad path for you. These decisions you're making are bad for you. This self-esteem issue and this self-worth issue is something you need to take a long, hard look at. This self-esteem that you feel, this negative self-image, is working to your detriment. And when the way you present yourself, is reflected on the outside. And when I look at the female goths, again, they may have a dark appearance, they may have a dark aesthetic, but they have a higher self-esteem than many of the black women I see in the black community. When I look at the goth woman, she has a lot of confidence. She has a lot of self-worth. She has a lot of positive energy. This radiates from the outside. This is what makes your goth extremely attractive to men. This is why they have no problem getting boyfriends, getting husbands, and being married for over a decade or so, because they have self-confidence, they have self-esteem, they have self-worth. And this is in spite of many issues that many black women also have. Black women have the same issues, but again, because they don't address them, that's why they are 70% single. Meanwhile, many of the goth women I've seen here on YouTube, most of them have boyfriends, or they're married, and in all the cases, their relationships are long-term relationships, because they have self-confidence, they have self-esteem, they go out and work on themselves, and that's why their relationships work. Meanwhile, in the black community, we have 70% black females single, and they don't really understand that that's due to their low self-esteem and low self-worth. And because they have low self-esteem and low self-worth, they can't take things like constructive criticism. When a guy like me presents constructive criticism of an African American woman, what happens is they get defensive, and then they start going into ad hominem attacks like this female did, talking about how I have a haircut that's 25 years old and how ugly I am, because that's what they do whenever someone presents them with a critique that is trying to help them. They go out and attack that person, and sadly, when men like myself get attacked in the black community, what we do in many cases is we just walk away. And I'm looking at this, and I can't really walk away because, again, I love the goth subculture, and I want people to know that I don't hate the goth subculture. This is a subculture that I'm very passionate about, because again, this is a great subculture. These people are great people. They're positive people, because I see them all the time when I used to go to Comic Cons or to the comic shop, because goth, they travel in the same circle as comic fans, sci-fi fans, and fantasy fans. We're all part of the same group. So I really, again, when I wrote my novel Spinsterella and Spellbound, and I create characters like Colleen and many others goth characters I created them because I have a love for the goth subculture. I know, quite a bit about it, and I wanted to show that African Americans were a part of this subculture. And yes, I am critical of the black community. I have to be critical of the black community. That's what a responsible man is going to do, because if he cares about his community, he's going to be critical of it. The same way many goths are critical of goth elitists and many other people who want to make their subculture look bad, because we want to see, the culture not only stay, we want to see it improve, we want to see it thrive, and we want to deal with the negative issues so that the culture can continue to improve and thrive. And that's the main reason, why I'm making this video, because again, I really care about both the goth subculture and the black community, and I don't want someone taking my views and my videos and trying to twist the narrative of them to fit their narrative. Again, my critique of the black community is meant to help black people, and yes, sometimes I do go hard on the black community. I do use words like Negro, because I want black people to understand how backwards they're going, because how can you continue to participate in behaviors that people acted in during the Jim Crow period and then say you're making progress? You're regressing. That's why I call them Negroes, because a lot of these black people are going backwards instead of going forwards. Meanwhile, when I look at the goth subculture, yes, it has issues, but I see it moving forward. I see it progressing. I see people pushing and persevering towards taking it to that next level. So I don't see that in the black community, and that's why I'm so critical of it, because I see goth getting ready to be the next group to leapfrog over black people, and black people still in the back of the bus of the world. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.